Hey there, my friend. You're watching or maybe listening to the Erin Chase Show, where we chat all things intentional living and how to achieve that ever elusive balance in our busy, overwhelming lives. And I'm your host, Erin Chase. And today we're going to continue the topic that we started last week. Last week I talked about inflation and shrinkflation at the grocery store. You can see that video here under the videos tab on the $5 Dinners Facebook page. We also upload them to YouTube, and you would also find it in the podcast player. And today I want to talk about just personal money management during inflationary times. And I have some good reminders that I think would be helpful for us as we navigate this situation. And again, like I said last week, I'm not going to get into the politics or the economics of it. I'm here to help you with practical, tactical tips for floating through the season. I've seen a lot of chatter about this. I'm in a lot of personal finance groups, and I'm starting to see more chatter about this and just how it's impacting us at the personal level. So I want to share 5 things that we can be doing through this season, and you're probably not going to want to hear some of them. And I'm going to be preaching to myself with a little bit of this, and that's okay. This is tough. This is where we kind of have to kind of band together and hunker down and get through this together. So please share this video if you think it's helpful. And again, practical is the goal here with the Erin Chase Show. I want to share ideas to help you think about certain situations and also help you sort of navigate through them in the case of today. So I saw a statistic yesterday that inflation is up 4.8%, which is about 2.5 times, or maybe a little bit more, 3 times the normal inflation rate, and was up almost 1% just in the month of June. And that's across all sectors. That's not just one particular area. Like we've heard, oh, lumber went up significantly in the last couple of months. It's actually started to come down now. So I'm not talking, that percentage is across the board, across the consumer index. It's not just one particular area, but it's also important to be following which areas are seeing the higher rates of inflation so that we can avoid those even more so. And I'll get into that here in just a second. So 5 ways of managing cash. This is our personal cash. You could probably apply some of these lessons if you run your own business, into your business finances as well. But the first one is this. The first 2 kind of go hand in hand, okay? The first is reevaluate your needs and your wants list. Do you really need that thing? Or is it really a want that you're justifying to be a need? Again, preaching to myself here. We all have these things that are on our list, and reevaluating the needs and wants is really important, both big purchases and small purchases. And I'll share an example from our life. My son, my oldest son, turns 16 tomorrow, and he will be driving all of his brothers to school, and he'll be going to see his friends. Like, he's going to have a car. And the long-term, the plan that we've had as a family for the last several years has been for him to, we actually bought my husband's car 7 years ago, I think now, with the intention that it would be his and he would drive that. It's a great car. It's got kind of low miles for how old it is. And anyways, that's been the plan. And then that my husband would get another car that then we would have my next son driving. We were going to kind of do this like share and pass along situation. We have a whole plan of how they're going to be invested in this as well. We're not just straight giving them a vehicle. Anyways, that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to say we were planning on buying another used vehicle sometime in this next couple of months. And we're going to hold off on that because the used car inflation percentage is somewhere along the lines of 8 or 9%. So that's basically you're just throwing away 8 or 9% of the value of the vehicle. So we're going to hold off on that. And my husband and I are going to try to share a car. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to do our best. It's just going to take a little planning ahead and a little bit of communication. But I think in the long run, it'll save us money. And that's a large purchase, right? But the same thing applies. Evaluating your needs and wants list. That was what I thought was that we needed a third vehicle. I really just wanted it to make things smooth and easy. But we're going to kind of Does that make sense? It's a really big example, but the same thing could be the case of, maybe it's some new work clothing. Well, nobody's been wearing work clothing for the last 18 months. Let's just go in our closet and find some new outfits, mix and match or whatever, right? So really taking a look at our needs and wants list. And that leads into number 2, which is wait. If there's something that you need to do, just wait. Will there be some uncomfortable moments? Will there be snafus, or my husband and I need the car at the same time and we didn't kind of get ahead of ourselves? Absolutely. But just wait, because if you can wait, you're not going to spend as much as maybe you would have if you didn't wait. Does that make sense? So that's the first 2, is evaluating your needs and wants list and then just holding off. Like, it can wait. Most likely it can wait. I know there's some things that are definite needs. That's not what I'm talking about. If there's something that's maybe a need that you're justifying, a want that you're justifying to be a need, let's hold off, right? These are our precious dollars. And when we float through inflationary seasons like this, it's really, really hard to manage. So I want those things to be an encouragement to you. Okay, number 3, control what you can control. Okay, focus on what you can control when it comes to your spending. And I think that the easiest thing to control when it comes to your current cash, right? The money that you're spending right now is food. I think that food is the easiest to control. I think, you might need to adjust and go back to maybe 1 or 2 sort of rice and beans nights kind of deal. You need to kind of back it down. You need to focus on meat when it's on sale and turning it into freezer meals. I spoke to that last week on last week's live. Definitely go back and watch that. It was a really good one on how food costs, controlling food costs, inflation and food, and then of course shrinkflation, which is product sizes getting smaller in the store and you're paying the same price, right? So anyways, I think that food is easiest to control. Obviously, I talk a lot about $5 dinners and budget-friendly recipes and all that. And so this is the world that I kind of live in and read about and study and listen to you and your comments about, right? But ultimately, when it comes down to it, we might be able to cancel some subscriptions. We might be able to say goodbye to, I don't know, Disney Plus or whatever. But when it comes down to it, I think that food is the easiest to control. If you need to shave $100 or $200 or $300 a month off of your food bill, you can do that. You're just going to have to get really specific with your planning and your goals with your grocery shopping. Maybe it's going out to eat once or twice a week less than you're doing now, right? So I think food is the easiest to control. So really focus your efforts on your food dollars. Okay, so that's 3. So reevaluate your needs and wants list. Wait, be patient. I don't think this is going to be permanent. I hope and pray it's not permanent. This sort of inflationary rise. I hope that there's a little bit of a back off, but wait, okay? And then 3 is to control what we control what you can control. And I think that food would be the area that you should focus on first, because that's the easiest to control with, of course, evaluating all of the different things that you have as part of your monthly budget. Okay, 4th, protect your cash. Set aside cash. I don't mean like tens of thousands of dollars of cash, but if you have $100 or $200 or $500 or $1,000, just keep that, protect it, because you might need it. As inflation goes up, we need more cash on a week-to-week and month-to-month basis. And so, we counterbalance this by protecting some cash as the prices of things rise. And so there's kind of this sort of like ebb and flow that happens. And so I think the 4th thing that you can do is protect a little bit of cash. You might have an emergency fund, but your emergency fund just doesn't go as far as it used to, especially on a 5% inflation rate. And so you might want to, maybe we need to reevaluate that. Maybe, the $1,000 emergency fund that so many different personal finance experts preach, maybe it's time that we make that $1,500 or $2,000. And so whatever extra cash that you can protect, whether it's because you're spending less on the groceries or you've canceled some things, it's time to protect that cash. And then 5th, so recap, first, reevaluate your needs and wants list. And then probably going to have to, number 2 is wait on whatever big, especially if it's a larger purchase. And I shared the example of the third car for our family. And third, controlling what you can control with your personal cash. I think food being the easiest. Fourth, setting aside some of that cash to kind of hedge against a little bit of this percentage increase. And you might not be feeling it yet on the month to month. And of course, it's going to depend on how tightly you track your personal budget and your personal spending each month. But I think as we move another month or two into this sort of inflationary season, you will see it. And so I think protecting a little bit of cash is important. And the last is, if you have extra cash, to invest. Okay, personal disclaimer, super fast. I am not a financial advisor. I am not a CFP, but I will share some advice. This is meant to be for your entertainment purposes only. So investing some of your cash in a zero commission account of some kind, and my recommendation would be to track along the S&P 500. It is, if you go and read any stock news, there are a number of funds that track the S&P 500. There's several options. If you really want to know, I'll put them in the comments later, recommendations. But again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I do think now is a good time to get a little cash in the market. There is some great, and those I would say are pretty safe funds to track along or to invest in. They're going to grow. The market grows. They'll grow. Of course, if there's a pullback in the market, they'll pull back as well. But it's a long-term investment, right? So protecting a little cash for the day-to-day. But if you do have some cash that you can invest, I think that would make a great place to do that. And there are a number of zero commission brokers that you can use that are going to have zero commission on your trades. And then also some of these ETFs and mutual funds have pretty low percentages as well. So it makes it for a worthy investment. And I think that and the reason I share this as this investment advice as the last one is because it's really important, again, protecting cash that's available to you, but also protecting and investing cash that you want to grow long term. And now is a good time to be doing that. So super quick recap. First, we have reevaluating your needs and wants list, which then will probably kick you into number 2, which is just waiting. If there's a big project or a big purchase that you need to make, but things have just risen in price, just wait, right? We've all been waiting a lot the last 18 months. Let's just wait a little longer. I do think that this will kind of shake out. The third is control what you can control, which I think the easiest is food. The fourth is to set aside a little bit of cash, maybe boost up your emergency fund. I mentioned that $1,000 really doesn't go that far these days with an emergency fund sort of situation. So taking a look at that and deciding maybe it's time to make that a $1,500 or $2,000 kind of emergency fund, so you have a little bit of cash if you need it, whether it's for an actual emergency or just to help you offset whatever inflationary costs that you are seeing in your week to week and month to month spending. And then the last is to invest. There are some zero commission brokerage options out there that you can sign up for that are free. There's also some really great funds that I would recommend. Again, not a financial planner. This is for your educational purposes only. Disclaimer that investing in some funds that track along with the S&P 500. There are a number of them out there that have seen really steady growth in the last however long since the fund's opened. And the S&P 500 is just a great one to track. It's not super risky, but you'll see some growth, 8 to 10% growth over the long term. Okay. So those are the 5 things that I think are really important when we are talking about managing our personal cash and just our kind of day-to-day when we are in an inflationary season. So that's what I wanted to share with you for my Think, Feel, Take Action. And pie, I like to end every episode with sort of this take action sort of concept. The first is planning, doing a deep dive in your budget, and one of these 5 things you want to start with. Like, okay, I'm already okay at this, but maybe I do need to look into, I don't have an investment account, maybe I do need to look into a zero commission type brokerage, something like that. That, planning and which of these things you might want to start with. And then of course, so plan, implement, evaluate is my PIE acronym for intentional living. So once you've decided which thing you're going to do, go ahead and implement that. Go sign up for that account. Go, decide that you're going to add $200 or $500 to your emergency fund and start funneling money over, even if it's $25 at a time, $20 at a time. It doesn't matter. Just plan what you're going to do and then implement that. And then in a couple of months, look at it and evaluate it and say, okay, maybe I need to try this now. I've got this going. I've got my emergency fund up to $1,500. Let's move on to the next thing that we chatted about here today. So plan, implement, evaluate. And I want you to think and feel confident in your money decisions, even though we're in this sort of inflationary season. And I want you to feel like this is worth doing, and this is how I'm going to fight it, and this is how I'm going to get through it. And in a couple of months, hopefully, when we're maybe a year, who knows? We don't know how long these things take. There's a lot of factors in play, but once we're through it, we can look back and with confidence and say, I was really smart with these decisions that I made, and I'm really happy that I made them because I came out on the other side smarter, better, managing of my money. All right, that's what I got for you. In this episode, we'll be talking a little bit more about this again next week. In the next show, I'm really focusing in on these sort of money conversations, just because of the sort of season that we find ourselves here in the United States. So please, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the Erin Chase Show. I'm live here on Facebook on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, we take the replays and we upload them to YouTube, and we take the audio version of the show and add it to the podcast players on Friday. So you can also subscribe on YouTube or subscribe on whichever is your favorite podcast players. I'm pretty sure we syndicate to all of them. So that's what I got for you. Please also ask questions, leave comments. I'm happy to share a little bit more information, but I wanted to keep this sort of general and just get you thinking about different things to be doing in the next couple of weeks as we forge into this inflation, this larger than it needs to be. I think inflation, but whatever. I don't make the rules. I don't set the rates. Okay, so that is all for this episode, my friend. It's bye for now, and we'll see you again soon.